Heinz-Harald Frentzen is the man of the hour and the revelation of the season in Formula One. He scored points in the last 7 races, including 2 victories, and is just 10 points shy of the Drivers' Championship lead with a mere 3 races to go. Can he be world champion? If he can get past David Coulthard, Mika Hakkinen, and Eddie Irvine. Welcome to Nuremberg, Germany, a beautiful, just pictorial, picturesque area of the country where the enthusiasm is rampant for Formula One, and folks aren't afraid to show the colors of their favorite driver. It's the Grand Prix of Europe, round 14 of the FIA Formula One World Championship on Fox Sports Net. Welcome to our Toyota pre-race. Mike Joy alongside 5-time Le Mans winner and the star of the Goodwood Revival last week, Derek Bell. And from the London Sunday Times and F1 Racing Magazine, Peter Windsor will join us from the pit lane. The drivers going out for reconnaissance laps, and there's David Coulthard and Mika Hakkinen for McLaren Mercedes in this championship season where seemingly no one driver can put this title chase away. Hakkinen and Irvine are knotted at 60 points. Heinz-Harald Frentzen with his win in Monza just 10 points back. David Coulthard only 12 out of the lead, and the Schumacher brothers.
Well, in the constructors, the title's just as close. McLaren Mercedes only 6 points ahead of Ferrari. Jordan 3rd, Winfield Williams 4th, Stewart, and then Benetton Haile 6th.
Well, last race in Monza, Derek, here's what happened.
Yes, Monza was quite something. It wasn't the greatest race in the world, but my goodness, there was lots of entertainment, lots of interesting things happened. We expected Mika Hakkinen to go off and try and consolidate his situation in the World Championship. Here he is fending off all the cars behind him as he comes down to turn 1. My goodness me, I'd have hated to try and get by Mika at this point. Leads to the first chicane. Ralf Schumacher takes a bit of a shortcut, nearly T-bones his ex-teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Nevertheless, a very interesting bit of driving went on. As we went through the field, it was Ralf Schumacher that slides by Zanardi when he backs off to let his teammate through to see if he can do battle. And then Zanardi has a good move later on. But meanwhile, it's the 2 tail-enders have a real moment as they're going into the chicane. Zanardi gets by Coulthard. Let's have a chat with Zanardi.
Very good start. I was in the position to actually pass Hakkinen, but then I decided that it was too risky, more for him than for me. And then car was handling beautifully, but then the floor broke and started to crash on the ground, and it was slowing me down on the straight and obviously in the corners as well, because I lost a lot of downforce because of it. It's a shame, but at least the performance was there.
Well, Alex certainly showed everybody he had the ability to do it, but Mika Hakkinen was easily in the lead. He makes a mistake, drops into first gear instead of second, locks it all up. Drops the clutch, doesn't work, and he gets out very frustrated indeed. Not good, and a very bad sign for him in the World Championship when he had it, I thought, fairly sewn up. He was very emotional, took time behind the bushes, but nevertheless it was the exceptional pit work of the Jordan team that Heinz-Harald Frentzen had 1 stop. Super bit of work, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen goes on to win the 3rd Formula One Grand Prix career victory. 2nd for Jordan. Great bit of driving by this team, and a super piece of work by the whole outfit. I mean, I thought it was exceptional for him. Great ride.
Well, he has really taken up the glove in this chase for the championship. Here is Frentzen, Damon Hill pulling in after a recon, or pulling out rather, and here is Frentzen going out, having a look around the circuit. He is certainly the man of the hour. Well, Peter, is this the championship that no driver can just jump out and just grab by the neck? What's the news this week?
Mike, here in the paddock, the atmosphere is absolutely electric. I'm almost hoarse. Everybody's talking about this World Championship, this critical race. Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher back in Switzerland, again having to watch this event on television. His right leg still not healed. Probably not going to race in Malaysia either, although Michael did take time this weekend to take the Ferrari team to his own kart track here in Germany. Gave them a great time out. Michael was there limping heavily, looking a bit pale, looking a bit thin, but still talking about coming back with a vengeance as soon as possible. Meanwhile, some of the details of the recent mega deals have emerged. It appears that Ferrari definitely decided to replace Eddie Irvine as long ago as the Brazilian Grand Prix. And in that time, Rubens Barrichello has been negotiating not his money, because the retainer was always going to be Irvine-type money at Ferrari, around $3 million a year. But Barrichello was very keen to have a firm 2-year contract, which indeed he has. It also emerges that Stuart Jaguar were very, very confident of signing Mika Hakkinen for next year. And they were completely shocked when Hakkinen decided to re-sign for McLaren Mercedes. I don't think anybody else in the world was, but Jaguar Stewart were. Olivier Panis re-signed in Formula One, driving now for Arrow's Supertech. His teammate next year will be Pedro de la Rosa. Toru Takagi obviously then looking for a drive, probably in the kart series. Meanwhile, Damon Hill, will he race in the last 2 events? Well, we've seen him practicing on a computer game, trying to get used to the Malaysian circuit. Judging by the amount of time he spent on the grass and on the curves, perhaps he shouldn't make the trip, but we believe he will. Back to you.
Thanks, Peter. Well, the official word, as you watch Heinz-Harald Frentzen out on the course, from McLaren was that Mika Hakkinen did not go off in the woods in a crying fit at Monza, but rather he was swearing at what had happened and didn't want the cameras to pick up and do a little lip reading. Anyway, what did Hakkinen say when he got back to the McLaren pit to Ron Dennis? Peter asked him.
Sorry.
And what did you say to him?
I wasn't angry. I mean, when someone's clearly in as much pain as he was, it's not a productive thing to do to increase it. You know, I mean, good management supports people in that situation, and when they make mistakes, you know, you don't take someone's mistakes and use it as a weapon against them. He didn't need me to inflict any more pain on him. He knew he'd made a mistake which cost him dearly, as we have done as a team. And when we make mistakes, he's supportive to us and vice versa. You've got to act as a team in failure as well as success.
Is there anything you can do to the gear change mechanism on the car to prevent an error having the same result in future?
The system actually has already a fail-safe, which does not allow first gear to be selected above a certain speed, but he was driving so slowly, he actually was driving under that threshold.
Well, if Mika was running slowly, that's probably why he did it, because he wasn't concentrating just as hard as he should have been. Just shows you've got to keep the pressure on all the time.
That's true. Well, what will be the face of Ford in Formula One next year? As rumored at the Frankfurt Auto Show, they showed off their new livery. It will be the Jaguar Leaping Cat on the Ford Formula One team. This is not the shade of British racing green we're accustomed to, but we're told it shows up very well on television. Welcome back to our Toyota pre-race coverage for the Grand Prix of Europe. Eddie Irvine, first equal in the World Driving Championship, trying to put a lead away here at the Nürburgring. Derek?
Well, a very, very nice little track, a shadow its former self set here in this wonderful Eiffel Mountains. Let's go and do a lap with Damon Hill. Storming past the pits. Of course, this was done on Friday when the sun was out. Going by the pits up to 180 miles an hour, down to third gear for the Castrol S. Through here, you've got to keep it very smooth. All these corners, you've got to keep very, very smooth indeed. They run on the curves, but it really isn't a great advantage. Just keep it very, very smooth the whole time. Left-hander as he works his way down into the forward curve. Forward curve, don't want to lock up that right-hand front wheel. Easily done as they turn into that corner. See, the curves are very, very smooth indeed. The circuit's a high downforce circuit, and there isn't very serious braking at all. Again, you're coming in there. Watch you don't lock that right-hand front brake up as they come in. Smooth as they come out. Works his way uphill for a virtually a flat-out left-hander, which will take him up into what they call the bit curve. This is the RTL curve, first of all, but you don't really almost waste that corner to get the bit curve just right. Vital to come out of this corner using all the road as smooth as you can, because it takes you a long, long way through this flat-out right-hander called the ITT curve, 170 mile an hour, up to 185. This corner here, you cannot see where you're going as you come into the corner. Whip, cross those curves in second. Very, very important corner indeed. Again, get the power down. Difficult to get this power down. Coming into Coca-Cola curve. Pushes a lot. Understeers as it goes through here. Careful, you've got to get traction. That was a lap of the Nürburgring with Damon Hill.
Well, it was sunny here Friday, but it's been anything else since. And the qualifying session was one of the most exciting in recent memory. It started out with a completely wet track. But as the track got drier, the track got faster, and the fastest qualifier changed maybe a dozen times.
It chopped and changed the whole way through. It was quite an amazing qualifying session. Sometimes it's like watching paint dry. This week it certainly wasn't. It was waiting for the water to dry. And that's exactly what it was. Damon Hill went out first. Inevitably, he was quickest. He does, in fact, get pole much later on. Ended up finishing 7th. Mika Häkkinen went out in the early part of the session. He ultimately qualified in 3rd place. Said himself afterwards, I couldn't have gone any quicker if I tried. Salo, he goes out, has a good try in the Ferrari, but for some reason, he's way down the grid in 12th place. But it did really depend on when you went out, what time you chose. Barry Keller goes out earlier on. He's very, very quick, always in the wet, but really his time didn't hold. Pani, well, he had a great session, and he ended up qualifying 5th, a super session for him. Ralf Schumacher, twice Ralf goes out and gets quickest time, but then, as everybody did, every time you went out, you could get the quickest lap. Eddie Irvine, well, he gets quickest, and he's the first person out on the dry tyres. He goes out, gets quickest time, but then after he's drying very, very hard indeed, struggles and in fact goes off the road twice in his vain efforts to get up on that front row. David Coulthard, well, David's always trying to get on pole. This time it's not Mika Häkkinen that thwarts him. It happens to be that man, Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Eddie Jordan, very, very happy indeed. Heinz-Harald lost 2 hours of practice over the weekend. Goes out right at the end after a row with the engineers. Is a superb job, and he gets out there and gets pole position. Peter Windsor's talking to Ralf Schumacher about his efforts in qualifying.
Great qualifying session to watch, and another great performance from Ralf Schumacher. You must be very pleased with P4.
Oh, we are very pleased with it, but as you always have in those conditions, you could expect a bit more. You could have reached more, but on the other hand, you could lose everything. So I think we are pleased.
Going to be a very interesting race with the grid like this. Back to you.
Yes, Peter, and the strategy for today's race, Derek, very weather dependent.
Well, it looks like some blue sky in the background now. It is drying up, but good start is absolutely vital because overtaking is very, very difficult. If it's wet, of course, fuel capacity is a problem because it would become a 2-hour race. Engine drivability in the wet, of course, is another major factor. If it's dry, they use the hard tyres and they'll get away with 1 stop. And of course, the guys that use the softer of the soft, well, they will probably have to make 2 stops. And also, they have to consider that they have to scuff off those tyres before they go out because they take time to come in.
As we watch Jacques Villeneuve, as you've said, the start of the race is so critical. It's not only the driver, it's the components that are involved in getting that car off the line like a dragster and down toward the first corner. Peter has a look at the innards involved in getting the car off the line.
Thanks, guys. Well, at Monza, we looked at the start procedure. Let's have a look at actually what goes on at the back of the engine. This is the beautiful automotive products, 4-plate carbon clutch that all the Formula One teams use, including Minardi, great team down here at the other end of the pit lane. $10,000 per clutch, and every car has a new clutch every race. 16 races, that's $160,000 a year just on clutches. Electronic clutches in Formula One, and the clutch, as we've talked about recently, is a hand clutch, except in the case of a couple of drivers. David Coulthard also has a foot clutch, but it's an electronic clutch nonetheless. And the hand clutch is here. It can be operated by either the left or the right hand. Driver coming up to the grid has the option either to come up in neutral and then pull the clutch and select first gear, changing up on the right, down on the left, or he can come up with first gear already selected. That's the preferred option. Marc Genet tried to select first gear on the grid in the Spanish Grand Prix and strip first gear because there was no load on the rear wheels. Latest developments in Formula One, Michael Schumacher, we believe, doing this already at Ferrari. 2 potentiometers here, operating 2 different clutch pedals. This one would be taken to the normal take-up point. On the right one, he just pull and then release as soon as the lights go out. He's got double the effect, and he can just make a spring start. Not like the old days, eh, Derek? Back to you.
I must admit, it certainly was a lot easier just using a clutch pedal, I must admit. And of course, I have a job to concentrate on steering the wheel, let alone pulling all those levers.
Yeah, and a lot less expensive, too, for the team. Jean Alesi in conference with the Sauber team. New father, Julian, his second son. Well, in any NASCAR or kart paddock, you'll find it filled with $250,000 or more motorhomes. Drivers, crew chiefs, officials, and yes, even broadcasters have them. The Formula One trailer park has only one resident, Jacques Villeneuve, until now. David Coulthard has a new motor coach. Here's a look at it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Nürburgring and our Toyota pre-race coverage of the Grand Prix of Europe. A rather chilly day. Everybody grateful for 3 layers of Nomex. We're in a snowmobile suit. It's only 56 degrees out. The track temperature, the asphalt, a little bit warmed by some sunlight there at 60. Humidity, look at that, 85% chance of rain, 5 out of 8. Winds out of the southwest at 5. We'd like to hear from you. We read every single email, and those of general interest we'll try to bring out during our telecast. Write us on the World Wide Web. Our address is formula1@foxsports.net. Next year, the Grand Prix of the United States at Indianapolis, and ticket applications are in the mail. To get yours, call 1-800-822-4639 or email them. Tickets@brickyard.com is their web address. Just 2 more races remaining after today. October 17th, Malaysia. October 31st, Japan will be seen live in most markets, but please check your local listings because air times vary during the NFL season. Eddie Irvine, even with Mika Hakkinen in the Drivers' Championship. Well, someone will leave here with the lead, but whom? That is the big question. 3 races remain. Let's have a quick look back at the first 13 of this season.
The 1999 Formula One season recap.
The 98 world champions Mika Hakkinen and McLaren Mercedes began their title defense in Australia but failed to finish, opening the door for a breakthrough victory for Eddie Irvine.
I'm glad my dad didn't come to this one because he never comes to my first victories.
We went halfway around the globe to Brazil, where Rubens Barrichello led his home Grand Prix but failed to finish. Mika Hakkinen and Mercedes regained their winning form. On to San Marino, where Hakkinen suffered his second DNF in 3 races, and Michael Schumacher got his first win of the season.
Thanks to the team because they've done a great job, strategy-wise, car performance-wise, everything.
After Spain and Monaco, back across the pond to Canada and the usual opening lap melee. But the hits kept on coming. Leader Michael Schumacher crashed at this corner, as did many drivers, including Canadian Jacques Villeneuve. And Mika Hakkinen, once again, is victorious. In a very wet French Grand Prix, Heinz-Harald Frentzen struggled to find gear. He did, and found his way to the top of the podium for his second Grand Prix win and his first for Eddie Jordan. On to the first lap of the British Grand Prix, where Schumacher goes straight off the course and crashes out of the title chase. Mika Hakkinen is unable to capitalize, and his teammate David Coulthard wins his home Grand Prix.
This is definitely the best feeling I've ever had in my racing career.
Ferrari throws their support behind Eddie Irvine, and Coulthard's season goes from first to worst as he dumps teammate Hakkinen in the second corner. Irvine's Ferrari goes on to win.
Yeah, I'm very sorry for running into Mika, but I misjudged that corner.
Irvine's title chase is building momentum. At the German Grand Prix, Michael Schumacher addresses his countrymen and hopes to be back soon. Here's what he's missing. Mika Hakkinen cuts down a tire and spins out of the race into the fence. And Ferrari scores a 1-2 finish. In Belgium, Mika Hakkinen gets off to a slow start. Coulthard crowds him at the first corner. They touch. Coulthard gets away for the victory. Hakkinen's not happy.
Experience again. Not very pleasant, but no further comments, to be honest.
McLaren's misfortunes keep Irvine's Ferrari in the title chase, but Hakkinen scores his 11th pole of the season in Italy. He builds an 8-second lead and then spins out of the race for the 3rd time in the last 6 races. Heinz-Harald Frentzen gets his 2nd win of the season, and now it's a 4-horse race. Well, the telling statistic, Derek, right there in the lower right corner, 3 DNFs in the last 7 races for Mika.
Yes, I mean, by now they should have won this World Championship, and they haven't, and I think they've got a lot to answer for.
Well, especially without Michael Schumacher, it is now a 4-horse race. He would have made it 5, but he may be back for Malaysia, and then again, maybe not. David Coulthard sets to strap in. He'll start from the outside of the 2nd row. The Nürburgring marks the final Grand Prix in Europe for Ford. Stewart branded as a team. That will be Jaguar next year, so they took the occasion to host a gala party here at Nürburgring. We will be right back. The Grand Prix of Europe on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Toyota. Every day belongs to you. Make it count. Toyota, every day. Beautiful countryside here surrounding the Nürburgring as we get set for round 14 of the World Championship. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is our pole sitter, and he's also the subject of Peter's Formula One on One interview this week, the man that has come to within 10 points of the lead in the Drivers' Championship.
It's been a great year for Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Jordan Honda. I spoke to him about his highs and lows this season, but I began by asking him about the Jordan Honda car itself. How good was it when he first drove it last winter?
The car is basically quick right out of the box, and the car does react to all the changes we have done so far, and I found it this year that together with the engineering group that we could really do a lot of things with the car. You know, we were quick on any kind of tracks.
What is the Jordan team like to work with, specifically Mike Gascoigne and Eddie? How's your relationship with Eddie?
Well, very nice. I mean, I have to say it was a bit easy for me this year because I started with the second place in Melbourne, and we were right there from the beginning at the points. And I think we both, I mean, me and the team, we just got in a good rhythm there, and we grew together, and the relationship is quite good.
What was your reaction when you saw or even heard that Mika had gone off at Monza?
Well, I was immediately I knew that I gained a place, but the next moment at that stage I don't really appreciate that, because when he dropped off at lap 30, I think, it was still a long race to go, and I think most of the racing driver has experienced that you shouldn't be too happy about somebody in front of you falling off. It could happen to you anytime.
Have you any experience of the United States, and your thoughts about America, and how do you think Formula One will go in America?
Well, I don't have a clue how it looks like now in America to go to Indy. I mean, I'm looking forward to see a new track, to see new circumstances, and I've never been in Indy, so it would be a nice chance to drive there and to have another additional environment, new environment there. I'm looking forward for that. I mean, there's a good chance really to see American Formula One fans.
He's very calm, he's very measured, and he's a championship contender this year and certainly in 2000. Back to you.
It's amazing to think he nearly came over to drive for Bobby Rahal in kart, isn't it?
Yes.
Ended up possibly winning the World Championship.
Well, he's within 10 points of that as we grow closer to the start of the Grand Prix of Europe at the Nürburgring. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Back with the starting grid and the start of the race in a moment. Welcome back to our Fox Sports Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Europe. The formation lap has begun. Those who ride with Alex Wirtz, let's get to our starting grid, our Toyota starting grid for today's Grand Prix of Europe. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is on pole for Jordan Mugain Honda.
And David Coulthard still cannot quite get that coveted pole position.
But he did out-qualify his McLaren teammate, Mika Hakkinen, who will start third.
And Ralf Schumacher just 0.02 of a second behind Mika.
Olivier Panis for Prost has his second best qualifying effort of the season, fifth.
And Giancarlo Fisichella, well, he was quickest this morning in warm-up, been there all weekend. Great position, third row.
Strong effort for Damon Hill. He's on the inside of row 4 in the Jordan.
And Jacques Villeneuve's been very up about the VAR all weekend.
Where are the Ferraris? Well, there's Eddie Irvine back in 9th place.
Jarno Trulli being outshone, of course, by his teammate Panis.
And Alexander Wirtz, we rode with a moment ago, he will start back in 11th for Benetton.
Mika Salo must be wondering just what happened, being back that far in the Ferrari.
And the best of the Saubers this week, Pedro Diniz in 13th.
Johnny Herbert out-qualifying just Rubens Barrichello.
Barrichello in 15th for Stewart, John O'Lacey for Sauber, the 16th position. Ricardo Zonta for BAR in 17th. Alex Zanardi suffered to 18th position. The Minardis are not last. They're in the 10th row. Luca Badoer and Marc Genet. Meanwhile, Arrow's fortunes continue to fall like the U.S. stock market. There is Takagi and De La Rosa anchoring the grid from row 11. On board with Damon Hill. And at the top of the World Championship, Stan Mika Hakkinen, who starts third today, and Eddie Irvine, who starts way back in ninth. 10 points back of them, the pole sitter Frentzen, and the outside pole sitter Coulthard 12 points off the lead, and the Schumacher brothers.
And the constructors, McLaren Mercedes 108 points to Ferrari's 102, followed by Jordan at 57, Winfield at 30, Stewart Ford at 17, and Benson Plylife at 16.
Very unexpected standings for where we are in this season.
I must just make a comment here. They have gone round on a very, very slow warming up lap. Those tyres at this temperature are ambient, and track temperature 56 degrees. Are going to find it very hard to keep these tyres or get them back up to temperature again, especially those guys on the harder of the soft compound. And let me just tell you, it is actually Stewart and Ferrari that are on the harder of the two soft compounds.
All right, safety cars coming into position. We are set for the start of round 14 of the World Championship, the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring.
Oh, did he hold them up? Oh, dear.
Yellow flags a wave.
That won't have done their clutches much good doing that. They can't stand too many starts like this. And look at Schumacher almost running up the back of David Coulthard. That was very, I mean, he just held them on that green light. When all the lights go out, they have an option. Normally it's up to about 5 seconds before they were put on the green light. And that seemed a good 5 seconds to me. I don't know about you, Mike.
Now the start is aborted, and whoever, should the officials judge it was one of the cars that caused the aborted start, that car will be sent to the back of the grid.
Well, it certainly wasn't this man. Heinz-Harald Frentzen certainly didn't jump the start. He hung on there for ages. And those engines revving at 17,000 revs, waiting to let that hand clutch out, it must have put a lot of pressure through that system. Not good for it at all.
They will set up for another formation lap. Very difficult to tell here what happened. But they'll set up for another formation lap, and that will count as a race lap. It will shorten the race distance by 1 lap.
Well, you have to say something about the modern, these sort of clutches. In days gone by, they would have had a problem there, because some of the guys at the back would have just gone, and it would have been absolute chaos at the front.
Well, we saw in Monza Peter's feature last week, or last race rather, 2 weeks ago, on the starting system and how it is employed, and how the timing of that final light is variable. So the mechanics now rush onto the grid to the aid of the drivers and get them set up for another formation lap quickly. The tire blankets going on to try to keep some heat in these tires as we wait for another formation lap.
Well, it's certainly dry now, one has to say that, but it still looks darn cold to me. It looks cooler than 56 degrees out here. But of course now they have the problem, they have to put the tire blankets back on again, get the tires warmer again. Some of the drivers get out to relax just a little bit.
Well, we'll have to sort out what happened here, but I don't see the officials rushing to move anyone to the back of the grid in penalty. Is it possible that the lighting system malfunctioned? We'll try to check that story out and fill you in when we come back. We are awaiting a second formation lap and again the start of the European Grand Prix on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to Fox Sports Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Europe. Many of the teams have fitted new warmer tires that have been kept in the warming blankets for the second formation lap, which will reduce the race length to 66 laps once we do get a start. So here is another formation lap, and from what we can determine, there may have been a malfunction with the timing lights themselves at the driver's view overhead to signal the start of the Grand Prix.
Well, it didn't look as though the 5th row of lights went on. Well, unfortunately, the sunshine is right on those lights, and they don't even glow very brightly at all.
But look way at the back of the grid. They're saying that Marc Genet moved prior to all of the lights coming on, and that's why the start procedure was aborted.
Well, I must admit, from where we were watching, it didn't look as though that 5th, the last row of lights, went red to me. Even when we saw it in slow motion just now, it went on. Anyway, here we have the situation where they're going around in their warm-up lap. They've got to keep the temperature up on these tyres. As you said, Mike, they have changed their tyres. They come out with another set of hot tyres under the blankets, sort of 100 degrees. They've brought them in, stuck them on the car, and now the guys, you can see, they are going a lot faster this lap than they did on the warm-up lap last time. This is the problem when the ambient is so cool as we ride with Alexander Wirtz and the Benetton.
All right, let's show you again what happened from the point of view of the starting lights when this start was aborted. The first few lights will come on at preset intervals.
It did go red. I just didn't see it in the replay that was put on just now. But Genet had made the move further back, and that was it.
Yeah, you see at the top of the screen, top right, there was a yellow flag waving before the last light came on. So that's why the start is aborted. And Marc Genet will have to go to the back of the grid, which is the grand distance of one car.
One car just behind him, yes, that's a big deal for him.
Well,
he looked a bit wired up before the start, sitting on the edge of the track. I thought, this guy's determined to do well this weekend.
Kind of wonder if you might not just go ahead and start the race and give him a stop and go, as is done in many American series. Not to say that way is necessarily better. And certainly if it was a problem at the front of the grid, it might carry more weight and have more impact. But only world champions have won the Grand Prix of Europe. Piquet, Prost, Mansell, Senna, Michael Schumacher, Jacques Villeneuve, Mika Hakkinen. All right, let's try it again. For the restart now, the race distance 66 laps as the cars come around to complete the second formation lap and file into position. We'll have a look at the bank of start lights, and once again, we are set for the start of the Grand Prix of Europe.
From the Jordan of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. But he's got David Coulthard right inside and Mika Hakkinen outside. And he just needs to be attacked all sides as he goes in the first right-hander.
Everyone away cleanly. One of the stewards was late.
Oh, look, car's upside down as they go across the grass. My goodness me, there was contact there on the exit. Car still upside down in the sand, actually on the grass right now. One of the two. Oh, you can see the driver's hands moving.
Can't tell which of the Saubers it is.
He's going to need some help get that car back up.
I think Damon Hill is off on the left side of the course, and there is a third car off.
They'll have to, I presume they'll have to stop this one, that is for sure. Careful as they lift him over, he might be hurt. They have to be very, very cautious. Alexander Wirtz walking back, or running back, should I say. Goodness me, he just cartwheeled across that road.
And the ground is very, very wet. And of course the car just pretty much dug in once it caught upside down. So the driver being helped away. Safety car is out on the course. It does not appear they're going to stop the race, but put it under control of the safety car.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. It
is Pedro Diniz, is the Sauber that's upside down. Diniz, who started 13th.
Well, it's perfectly adequate to just put that full course yellow out, unless the young man is hurt. Let's hope he isn't. He's trying to get out of the car, but I think he would certainly be very, very shaken having flipped over like that. Of course, if you can keep the safety car out, it means the guys can just keep their adrenaline going. Bring them back to the start is still not a nice thing to do.
No. And keep the heat in the tires.
It looks like they're lifting one of the Jordans out, as you say, of Damon Hill.
What a sad break for Damon in his final European start.
It may well be his final start in Formula One. Might be the thing that makes his mind up now.
Well, there was some speculation that he might skip the Far Eastern rounds in Malaysia and Japan, and that would spark quite a bit of driver swapping back and forth. Let's see if we can find out what happened here at the second corner.
Quite difficult because they actually came into view out of control.
I see Barrichello got away a little bit slowly there.
Now there is Damon right in the middle of that lot. Look, see, Damon is. Oh, look, there they come through. Oh, surrounded. He obviously Damon actually is going dead slowly. I mean, really slowly. And then the Benetton comes through and flicks up. Diniz flicks him up. Look at him go around. Why couldn't he have just landed on the bottom of the car? Fellow like Zanardi out there beyond him as well got involved in that.
Through the first corner. The other Sauber, Lacey, took to the dirt to, as it looked like Damon kind of packed everybody up coming into that corner.
Well, Damon just lost everything. He just didn't have any power. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. He's bouncing across. Ooh, dear, dear, dear. That's not good at all.
Yeah, Damon there at the bottom of the screen
Just
appeared to
creeping
either
along.
lose the drive or lose the engine or lose the drive in the car from Wirtz.
Wirtz's angle. Here, look at Damon. Absolutely. So Wirtz swerves.
Oh,
and there's Denitz goes by him. Of course, Wirtz swerves and Denitz just catches him and runs over Wirtz's right front or rear, right rear or right front wheel.
Yes.
And that just flicks him upside down.
But the whole incident was triggered by Damon Hill, who either lost the engine or the gearbox or hydraulics, but something caused that car not to be accelerating, and the whole field packed up behind it. So we're behind the safety car with Frentzen leading Hakkinen, Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher, and Fisichella. So Denitz, Damon Hill, and Alexander Wirtz out of it. Hard to call Hill as involved in the crash. He triggered it, but really, I don't know if he suffered any contact there.
I know, it looked like Wirtz swung around the back of him, and that's what created the accident. Obviously, Wirtz didn't want to have an accident, and on the outside of him was no doubt Pedro Denitz. They're taking a long time to get him out of this car.
Now, one of the advances in Formula One this year is that if necessary, the rescue crews can remove the driver and the seat in total. They've chosen not to do so. They put on a neck collar as a precaution. He gave a thumb up to everybody as they now place him on the stretcher to go into the ambulance.
Well, his head must have touched the ground. Look at the back of that car. My goodness gracious me. This is when, of course, one has to respect all the safety features that are being brought into Formula One.
Right.
The fact that there's an old friend of mine, Walter Toshnik, on the left there, been with Sauber for a long, long time. Here we go. Let's just watch it again. There he goes.
Yeah, nobody touches Damon, but
meanwhile, of course, there is Denitz bouncing down the road.
And the other car that went way off in the grass around was Zanardi.
Yeah.
In the second Williams.
Here we go again.
Here's a better angle.
Again. See Damon there on the right of your screen going very, very slowly. Salo pulls out to overtake him. On the inside goes, looks like one of the Prosts. And then, of course, there we go. Wirtz pulls out. Look at his head. I mean, he's very, very lucky if he doesn't get hurt. I mean, he seemed to be all right, but I mean, just shows they've done this roll cage just about right. So the driver's head has to be below that line between the top of the dashboard and the top of the roll bar, so that the head doesn't hit the ground in an instant. Look at that. Wirtz
actually, it's Wirtz's right front slamming into the left rear of Denitz.
Yeah.
And no one hits Damon. But Pedro Denitz, as he was carried out, was conscious, talking to the medics, gave the crowd a thumbs up, and was helping to direct his own recovery. So, a tumultuous start to the Grand Prix of Europe. We will be right back with you on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to Fox Sports Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Europe. An aborted start, blamed at Marc Genet, and then a crash at turn 2 when the race is officially started. There's Alexander Wirtz's view as he tries to keep from running over Damon Hill. He launches Pedro Denitz.
That was absolutely astonishing, the way he actually launched him. You wouldn't think he would flick the car in the air, and here he is. He's waving to the crowd. They've got his neck in a brace. They load him into the onto a stretcher, and then sometime later they put him into the ambulance. But it was one heck of an accident. And in fact, when we saw the car just now, the roll bar was missing. The roll bar behind his head that normally would support his head or shield his head was missing from the car, so he must have taken quite a whack at some point.
Well, I'm sure that when the car went over, the ground is so wet from the rains that we've had here all week, and during the weekend, that the roll bar just dug in, and surprising that it would be sheared off like that.
Well, they've obviously got to do something in the safety features, because that's something that I always say is the greatest part of these new cars, is the support that they get from this roll bar, and obviously it didn't work in that case.
So the Mercedes safety car leads the field around as we have a look at the order. Pole sitter Frentzen, Mika Hakkinen ahead of David Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher 4th, Fisichella, Penny, the top half dozen. Irvine from 9th to 7th, Villeneuve, Salo, Alesi, Barrichello, and Trulli, the top dozen. Oliver Gavin brings the safety car in, and we're back racing at the Nürburgring.
Let's just hope those tires are up to temperature. That's the one thing that always worries me, is are the tires going to be back up to temperature?
6 laps complete, and we hope to complete the first full one under green. Whoa.
Now we'll see just how team orders are going to operate in this situation with the two McLarens there nose to tail. I don't know, I think Ralf Schumacher looks good this weekend. He's done so well. They obviously have the Supertech engine, is lightly power, but he's still 60 horsepower. Down moves 2 cars in front of him, but it is his home circuit, and Ralf raced here all his life.
We did see during the break Damon Hill walk from his car and jaunt across the track and walk back up pit lane to the Jordan pit. No comment from the Jordan folks as to what might have happened to Damon's car.
He certainly went very, very slowly indeed. Now we're going to just see Heinz Frentzen in leading a field. We haven't seen him lead like this. It's in a dry condition, to my knowledge, this year. And there he is, out in front. And we're just going to see how he can take the pressure of these 2 cars behind. Generally speaking, this year, we've made comments that Heinz-Harald Frenzen's always been quite happily on his own in the middle of the field, just waiting for things to happen in front of him. But here he is, in front, and he deserves to be there.
What must Mika Hakkinen be thinking, because now he is surrounded by championship contenders. Here's Frentzen right out front, 10 points back of him. Right on his tail is Coulthard, 12 points behind him. Then Ralf Schumacher, who right now stands 6th in the Drivers' Championship, and Eddie Irvine well back, though now at 6th place.
Ralf Schumacher's staying with the McLarens at the moment, and that car of Eddie Jordan's car is slightly easing away with Heinz-Harald Frentzen at the wheel as we ride with Ralf Schumacher.
With understeer such a problem at this circuit, Derek, how do you take care of those tires?
Well, that is the problem, is that because they've had such limited time in practice during the weekend to get the car set up in the dry. I think that is, they're just having a bit of a gamble at it. And of course they've got the extra groove in the tire this year, so they can't use last year's setup at all. But look how they stretch out on that very fast 180 mile an hour up into the second-hand chicane. See, the old circuit used to go round a little bit faster, or somewhat faster. Frentzen on the fastest up at 1:23.1. Remember, they did 1:18s in practice. 1:19.9 he did in qualifying.
The biggest beneficiary of that dust-up was Jean Alesi, who moved from 16th on the grid to 10th place.
Irvine did a pretty good job too. He's up in 6th place. So he must have got by 1 more in the last lap. Irvine, you can see in the back of the screen there, coming up behind one of the Fisichella, one of the Benettons.
Yeah, Irvine got past Penny on this lap, and the report from the Jordan pit is that the electronic throttle for Damon Hill, electronic trouble, and put his foot down, nothing there.
You see, this is what gets me about all this technology. It's wonderful when it works. It's given all these guys millions of dollars of work a year, and here we have, it just fails, and one bloke could have got killed because of this technology gone crazy, and it's such a pity. Here we go. This is Eddie overtaking Olivier Panis. Good bit of work there, Eddie. So that is a very slow corner, second gear corner, and one of the 2 opportunities you do have to overtake. And he made the most of it, but my goodness, he's got to go for it. You can see him at the back of your picture now.
Irvine now closing in on Fisichella. They're at the head of that second pack. Frentzen the leader, Hakkinen, Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher. That's the front 4, and then a gap.
The Mugen Honda, this is the engine that's in the Jordan, obviously is built in, starts from Japan, and they are supporting obviously the BAR team next year with the Works Honda engine. So it's going to be interesting to see just how much help this Jordan team will get next year from Mugen Honda, because they are doing such an amazing job this year. They have produced a little bit more power all the time as the season's progressed.
Irvine having a look here.
He could get a little bit of momentum as he goes down into the Dunlop curve at the bottom.
That's Fisichella just ahead. Irvine has a look on the left side. Oh, gets up there, not going to have enough room.
Of course, he has got so much more power. Remember, Eddie did have a poor qualifying yesterday. He was second, third quickest over the weekend. He's been running so well all weekend in the dry conditions. And of course, as we said just now, this engine, the Renault engine, basically the Mechachrome Supertech engine, is some many horsepower down on that Ferrari, so Irvine should get by.
You know, we've talked about
where he might. Sorry, under braking coming up here. Is he going to get by at the end of the uphill straight?
Has a look.
Has a look, does he? No.
You know, we've talked about Irvine having variable fortunes this season of being up and down, but he has the longest string of consecutive finishes in the points of any driver. The last 10 races he's scored in the points, Derek.
Yes, he really has, but Ferrari have had this astonishing reliability, which they had last year as well. They just keep turning in results, and that's what you need to do. Plus, they have tremendous pit strategy, do a wonderful job at that, and that pays off in the end. You get the results.
Irvine's not been the tortoise, not by any means, with 3 victories and 7 podium finishes. Mika Hakkinen has 4 wins, 8 podium finishes, but those are the only finishes he has. No other points. So there's Eddie Irvine after 13 races in the season. Look at the difference this year to last.
Astonishing difference. Absolutely astonishing difference.
Looks on the outside. The Fisichella, nothing there at the corner entry. Tosses the nose just a bit on exit.
Somehow you have to carry the extra momentum as you're going through this next section, just so you can get by under braking. That's what you have to do, is carry the momentum to sort of launch yourself by the car in front. Now, is Eddie going to be able to do that? He should do with the extra power of that car. That's what I don't understand. But he doesn't seem to get close enough. Whether it's the aerodynamic disturbance that we're getting in the fast corners, only he knows. Catches right up under braking for second gear Vidal chicane. Pretty big high curves through there.
Gets a good exit right on the tail of Fisichella coming out, but not a passing opportunity
now,
here.
If he can stay here, because of the understeer they get through that corner, he might get disturbed behind the air and have to back off a little bit and get that extra bit of push he doesn't need.
Things heating up front. Oh, a spin. 2 cars around. One is Zanardi and one of the Arrows. Everybody's going to get past. Oh, as he stalled it.
Dear, oh dear.
What a shame.
Well, he did such a good job at Monza the other week. I mean, a super job, but for his problems with the body coming loose underneath, which meant that he had to back off, or should I say he just didn't have the stability to carry on at the high rate he was going.
It sounded like you could hear the engine revving there, but it would not select a gear, Derek.
Yeah, I thought you could hear the engine revving as well. But,
well, here's your front 4 once again, and Frentzen now is establishing a little bit of gap on Mika Hakkinen, David Coulthard, the 2 McLarens, and Ralf Schumacher.
Looks like it might well be locked in a gear.
Oh,
which
yeah.
means they can't push it.
So there'll be a yellow at that corner.
Here we go.
And here's how it happened.
Dear, oh dear. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. The trouble is the guy on the outside in the Arrows did not realize that Zanardi was right on the inside, and he pulled right across.
And who was that trying to force their way down through the center?
That was the other Arrows.
Oh.
Both the Arrows cars very, very close indeed. But, you know, Alex shouldn't have been back with them. That's the point. But, of course, with the chaos at the start, who knows? You get held up, and we've seen it is difficult to get by. But the trouble is Ralph's at one end of the field doing a stunning job, and Alex is not having a good run at the other end. But you do get held up by these other cars, and you can't get by.
Eddie Irvine continues his assault on 5th place. And Toa Fisichella in the Benetton, of whom we hoped would have a better season. Here is Alex Zanardi. You saw him walking away from his car, which appeared to be locked in gear after that spin. So Zanardi is out of the race, joining Damon Hill, Alexander Wirtz, and Pedro Diniz. You're watching Formula One, the Grand Prix of Europe on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Europe from the Nürburgring. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has led every lap with his mirrors full of the 2 McLaren Mercedes. Here's the best battle on the track, 5th place. Fisichella's Benetton trying to hold off Eddie Irvine. Keith Olbermann and Kevin Frazier bring you all the day's scores, highlights, and breaking stories nightly at 10 on Fox Sports News Prime Time. Check your local listing. Irvine has been everywhere, but ahead of Fisichella.
Yeah, he's done everything he can. He's been really scratching, doing everything he can, but it's really difficult. I'm staggered, of course, at the speed of this Supertech engine is having over Irvine, but of course the fact is the Ferrari and of course Stewart's are on the harder of the 2 soft tyres, and therefore they probably are a little slower at this point, but will come on later.
There's Penny 7th, Villeneuve 8th. Here's a look at the top half dozen. Frentzen, the leader for Jordan. The McLaren of Hakkinen. Third, the McLaren of Coulthard. In fourth, the Williams of Ralf Schumacher. Fifth is Fisichella in the Benetton, and sixth, Eddie Irvine's Ferrari.
Eddie has a new car this weekend. He was complaining, of course, about the fact that his car maybe had a lot of twists. It had 6,000 miles on it. So there was talk about him having a new chassis for this weekend. Maybe it'll be a bit more rigid, they said.
Hakkinen with a look, and just a look.
Just a look. The way these guys brake, they brake so late. I mean, they brake from sort of like 200 miles an hour down to 60 miles an hour in 5 seconds. I mean, that is such a short braking distance. And, of course, it's very difficult to come from 2 cars behind to 1 car in front.
And Ralf Schumacher, Derek, having a great run right with the McLaren Mercedes at this point, but you've got to wonder if the McLarens are being held up by Frentzen at this stage of the race.
Yeah, I would think you're right there. I mean, historically, we haven't seen the Jordan leading the McLarens at all in a dry situation, practice qualifying or anything, and I don't think in the best will in the world that Heinz-Harald Frentzen expected to lead the race. But of course, once you get in front, as I say, with these braking distances and the turbulence you get in a corner, it's very... Here goes Eddie, looking down the inside of Fisichella. No, he can't do it. Fisichella's on the dirt. This is Eddie's chance to go by, and he does. Whoa, that was pretty brave to do that, because Fisichella was going to come back and make it tight for him. It just shows you put the guy under pressure. Remember, Fisichella, of course, is an Italian and would dearly love to be driving a Ferrari for his home country.
Fisichella's lost some momentum. Irvine made a bold move, as he is wont to do, to go to the outside, knowing Fisichella would come back on track and try to slice across in front of him. Very fast corner as well.
Now we'll see Eddie catch up, because the guys in front, I think, are slightly being held up by Heinz-Harald Frentzen. It's rather the wrong word, but he certainly is spoiling their game, one might say, and we'll see how quickly Eddie Irvine can catch up.
And that'll be the proof of it. Last lap by, Irvine was 9.1 seconds off the lead. Now that he has gone by Fisichella, let's see how close he can gain. 7th, 8th, and 9th have closed up as well. Penny, Villeneuve, and Salo. So there it was, 9.5 seconds, last time by. And we'll see if that changes now that Irvine is out in clean air.
Looks like it might be raining out there. Where we are, it's pretty dry, but out there looks like there's some drizzle coming up. And if you look down towards the southwest, you can always see those clouds coming. This will make the race somewhat entertaining, I have to admit. Nürburgring, right on the top of the Eifel Mountains, known for this sort of thing. Let's watch Eddie again. Fisichella tries to cut him off, but he's actually foiled by his own efforts, because he takes the wrong line in the corner on that very, very fast corner, and that lets Eddie through. He actually was hoisted by his own petard, as we say in Britain. Look at having a go at Coulthard. Here goes little Ralph down the inside. His younger brother Ralph going to make it. Very, very close indeed. Let's see what power he has out of here, but the McLaren must have the power on the straight. Just look at David Coulthard pull away. That shows the difference between those two engines. You might say it doesn't look like 80 horsepower to me, but it sure is close.
David almost ran him down off the inside curb of the racetrack.
Well, this is motor racing. This is Formula One. There's Ralph having another look. He's saying, come on, David, I want to get by. And I have to admire that young man in a car with that lack of horsepower. To me, he has been the equal in performance of Heinz-Harald Frentzen this year, and sort of being the driver of the year. I think he's done a stunning job when you consider that he does have a car with that lack of power.
I would agree. Derek, I don't mind Coulthard running him down the inside of the racetrack when he was ahead of him, but Ralph was right clear alongside, and David still kept coming down and in, and there are the raindrops on the camera lens out at that part of the circuit. And pouring out there, look at the rain streaming down. Now these are groove tires, and no help to Fizzy.
Sorry, there's Fisichella. He's having a terrible time, because obviously he's getting caught out by this moisture. He's trying very, very hard, and it's raining very heavily now.
Yeah, now sprinkles in the pits as well.
So they're going to have to come in for some tires very, very shortly.
Unless they get standing water on the circuit. Now, again, we've talked about the groove tires that are required here in F1. It's the sharpness of the edge at the groove, not so much the depth.
He's gone by, David.
Yep.
Yeah, Ralph's gone by this time. Well, he was for a while there. But David's really hanging on. Come on, Ralph, you can do it. But Mika Hakkinen now, of course, is slowing them down. Mika is playing a very, very cautious game. Look at him. Now, David should David's being a bit naughty here, moving right across. Come on, Ralph, get him. He's going to get Hakkinen as well if we're not.
Got him.
Too careful. Got him. He's got David there.
Good for
Look
Ralph.
at the crowd. The crowd are roaring with approval, saying Ralf Schumacher go by. He's now going to get Mika at the next one. Come on, Ralph. Don't push it. These McLarens, obviously, they're playing it very, very safe indeed, because for Mika Hakkinen, the World Championship is at stake. For Ralph, it doesn't really matter. He'd just like to win his home Grand Prix, or should I say the European Grand Prix at his home circuit.
Olivier Panis is in the pits.
But you see, it's not too damp all round the circuit. It's only in that, coming up that pit area.
Takagi is in the pits. May have stopped for directions.
That's
I'm sorry, that's an old Peter
enough.
Ustinov line from the Grand Prix of Gibraltar.
Poor guy, he's working his heart out back there to do a good job. Here we go. This is the overtaking maneuver again. David Coulthard moving across to make it so tight for Ralph. Ralph doing a great job. He just keeps it in there. Very, very good. And then he has to control it down so he doesn't run over the back of Mika and go off the road, because he certainly had the wrong line. Very, very damp. Look, whoops. Very, very. And Heinz-Harald Frenzen's off the road. But he's just kept it going. Very, very wet in this section, through, up into the Coca-Cola curve to the back of the pits. And Mika Hakkinen going in for tyres. I think it's Mika Hakkinen, possibly, if he was still the car in front. I think he probably was. He's going on. The Heinz-Harald Frenzen, meanwhile, we've seen him drive so brilliantly this year in wet conditions.
So Hakkinen comes in.
Is this going to be a good call or not? Is the rain sweeping down across the... Usually, he comes in on the southwest corner, down at the Dunlop curve area, and then sweeps up across the top of the pits. This seems to have come from the north more.
8.1 second pit stop.
Ferrari setting... Well, they're all setting up, really. They're all waiting for something to happen.
Is this Irvine in?
See, it's dry down at the bottom end. And you can... This is Salo's in the pits now, but of course it can really destroy the tyres if you get up there too soon. And look at see the different tread pattern on those wets that they run here. Long stop. What are they doing? Looks like they weren't prepared for Mika Salo to come in.
They may have had the wrong tires out there. Just judging, they had tires there, and they went to put slicks on, and then goofed up and made a change.
Unlike Ferrari. But of course panic does take over sometimes, and we're sitting in the comfort of the booth, and there they are, still having chaos. Oh, what a 36 seconds.
And they had to replace the front wing on Mika Salo as well. 38 seconds.
Well, just as well it was him and not Eddie Irvine that got through that. Now we're going to see by the lap times just how quick Mika Hakkinen is going to go on those wet tyres. Remember, these tyres they are running the extra soft slick tyre, which means it would work somewhat better in these conditions. But of course, as you can see, Mika Salo, Heinz-Harald Frenzen just easing away there from...
And Frenzen's been very smooth. Ralf Schumacher out of that last corner, Derek, nearly threw the car away 3 different times and got it back. Now here's Irvine.
Yes, you have to assess how much of the track is actually under wet conditions and how much is dry, and what the majority of the corners are they in the wet as opposed to the dry. Come on, where's the other wheel? My goodness, what are they doing? Are they still fitting them out the back?
Hello?
What are they doing? I can't believe it. What are Ferrari up to today? They should have the tyres right there. They're not putting wet tyres on.
They don't know what they're doing.
They're putting a dry tyre on.
Irvine got 4 new dry tires.
Dear.
In 28 seconds. Talk about a championship nobody wants to win.
36 seconds for one and 28 seconds for the other.
That's horrible.
We just had some news. Pedro de Nitz is stable and is conscious. Well, that's good. But he certainly had a fair old accident back there, bouncing down that grass without the road bar on the back of his head. Heinz-Harald Frenzen, you've just got to see. This is where Frenzen's sports car experience could well pay off. Having said that, he'll probably go off the next corner. But look how wet it is as they come into the chicane. Ralph sliding out very wide, has to take to the grass. Just hope you don't damage any of that. Your under tray or your spoilers on the front. No, the wings are undamaged. It carries on.
We'll talk about variable conditions. The front half of the circuit is dry. The back half of the circuit is pouring rain.
Yep. Well, that is the Nürburgring, but you can imagine what it's like. We're on the 14-mile track when we're out there with 176 corners. It'll be raining in 4 different places. Mika Hakkinen is going to find it pretty bad on those on the dry conditions. He's certainly going to overheat those tyres very quickly if he's not careful.
But what a choice to have to make. Do you risk overheating your wet tires, or do you risk sliding off in the rain on your dry tires? That's what's facing us right now, 23 laps in to the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. And looks like Ferrari may be back in, Derek.
Well, Mika Häkkinen's last lap was some 20 seconds slower than the guys that are running around on the dry tires. And well, you get this very big instability when you run a wet tire in the dry. The car really gets out of shape under braking. It feels like you're running on jelly. A horrible, horrible feeling. It doesn't want to point at all.
All right, Ferrari set up, but apparently it was just for drill. It might have been just to see that they could actually carry 4 tires out to the pit lane and have them in position.
Well, they should try getting the tires out there to start with.
Yes.
I would have thought they'd be right there.
They've put back away. So, Heinz Harald Frentzen leads Ralf Schumacher, a Jordan and a Williams, leading the Grand Prix of Europe. It's been a stranger day, and it's likely to get stranger yet. Stay with us. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. 26 of 66 laps complete in the Grand Prix of Europe. Heinz Harald Frentzen has led them all, but he has a strong challenge from Ralf Schumacher and David Coulthard. While we were away, Mika Salo and Mika Häkkinen pitted for dry tires after losing a lot of time. Häkkinen on the racetrack and Salo in the pits and on the racetrack with the switch over to the wet tires.
Well, Mika Häkkinen is 1 minute 46 seconds behind the leader at this time. I mean, he made such a bad error. He's obviously so cautious about losing the World Championship that he's not thinking about winning it. And that's such a pity. And here they are pitting. Looks like they're pitting, getting ready for Ralf Schumacher, who's doing such a splendid job behind Heinz Harald Frentzen, slithering around in these damp conditions. Here are the first 3. Ralf goes in. David Coulthard, of course, immediately behind. As Ralf comes in the pit lane. It's going to be pretty damp too in the pit lane. He's on the harder of the soft compounds, as is everybody but the Ferraris and, of course, the Stewarts. It was a good time to have a new, nice, hot, new, sort of quite sharp grooved dry tire to go at when the track is damp in certain places, cuts through that moisture. Mika Häkkinen having a disaster back there, way down the field.
Yeah, he's posted in
14th place, 1 minute 46 behind. Irvine's 1 minute 25 behind. So neither of the main contenders doing that well. And here we have Heinz Harald Frentzen and David Coulthard, who are 3rd and 4th in the championship, doing a splendid job.
Well, that'll just tighten things further.
You see it
from Malaysia and
yes,
Japan.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I mean, as soon as Mika came in, as soon as it started to get damp, he went in because he's nervous about losing it. He was so conservative, you could see he was almost getting, well, he did get overtaken. And he was so conservative about it. Of course, went in, put the wet tires on, it didn't work.
No, in one lap, he lost, what, 17 seconds in one lap?
Yep. A ton of time. He must have had a moment off the road, of course, to do that. But that is a lot of time. You see the wet on the outside. The thing about these fellas is that they keep the car on such a perfect line through the corner. If they come in too fast, just grab a wheel in the moisture, and of course that's it. They slide out of control.
So now 28 laps complete. Coulthard within striking distance of Frentzen. They are just 2 points apart in the Drivers' Championship, though Frentzen is 10 points behind Häkkinen and Irvine. This could really tighten things with just 2 races remaining.
And they are 13 seconds ahead, well, 14 now ahead of Fisichella. Ralf Schumacher 22 seconds down.
And Rubens Barrichello has now climbed to the 5th spot for Stewart. Ford, Jarno Trulli to 6th. There's a look at the points as they stand, with your 3rd place point man leading and 4th place in the points in 2nd place. Cross pit stop.
75-mile-an-hour speed limit in the pit lane, which means they can get in and out the pits pretty quickly here. But it does dry quickly. It certainly does dry. Generally at the Nürburgring in the early part of the year, it doesn't dry for hours because being the latter part of the year, the atmosphere is somewhat warmer and the ground is a little bit warmer, and it allows it to dry that bit quicker.
That was Jarno Trulli pitting for Prost, and Jean Alesi was in as well for Sauber.
These two having a real battle. It will come down to really who has the best pit stop when they decide to go in. They're on the same tyres, have same sort of engine power. And David Coulthard still clocking in quickest laps. Good times when you consider it is still pretty darn damp coming up into the Coca-Cola curve. Oh, and there's Fisichella going by Mika Häkkinen. Good move by Fisichella. He's waited 3 laps for that, but he's got by. I mean, this is really impressive stuff. Mika Häkkinen must be sort of wondering just what is happening to him at the minute.
Well, who would have figured that a third of the way into the race, Mika Häkkinen, your world champion, your co-leader in the points, would be running a lap behind due to a bad choice.
Yeah, total bad choice. This is where the advantage someone like Frentzen had because of his sports car experience. Remember, he used to race the Mercedes sports cars. I raced against quite a lot. And Michael Schumacher raced the Mercedes team. And when you get these conditions, you just have to sit it out. You keep your eye on the sky. Oh, look at him get it sideways, straight across the ground. Oh, he went down the other circuit. He went down the... That is quite a good way through, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get penalised for that, but it was pretty good stuff because he didn't even take to the grass. David might complain about that.
Well,
shows you it's still wet out there, Mike.
Yeah, it's not as if he gained a position, but certainly had he tried to make the chicane, he would have lost one there to David. Eddie Jordan looks pretty satisfied so far, although Damon Hill is out of the race. Heinz-Harald Frentzen leading and trying to bring himself into contention, a closer contention for this Drivers' Championship.
Of course, David could get out there and win this Grand Prix, and that would really put the cat among the pigeons, because right now that, oh, look, it does look like that Mika is out of the contention at the moment, even to maybe get too many points in this race. I mean, we're halfway through the race, and Mika is 1 minute, some 1 minute, 24 behind. That's quite a long way. 1 minute 25 now. That's a long way behind.
Häkkinen a lap off the pace. He came in, changed to wet tires, went back out and found them to be far slower than the dry tires that most of the rest of the field was using. Mika Salo was also in on wets. Eddie Irvine lost a ton of time in the pits when he and the Ferrari team could not agree which tires to put on the car. They eventually made the right choice. They put dry tires on Irvine, but it took them 37 seconds to figure that out. You're watching the lead battle, Frentzen and Coulthard. It's a total of 17 seconds from Frentzen back to Fisichella.
Yes, they're pulling away. They pulled away a second a lap from Fisichella at the moment. But of course, here we go. Fisi overtaking Mika Häkkinen some 2 laps ago. Just they go by the pits. Good piece of work, Giancarlo. Super piece of work. Bit of a twitch as he goes to turn in. Gets a bit of slip there. But that's it. He's then got the line just right for that second part.
Well, it has to make you wonder, Derek. Now, is Häkkinen's car, is it that far off? Is he in trouble? Or was he merely obeying the blue flag?
I don't know. I think Mika sometimes, you know, his mind just gets fumbled or scrambled even. I just think he starts to upset himself so much. See, look how much he's dropped back. I mean, he's dropped back a long way.
Yes.
They must be setting up, I would have thought McLaren must be setting up for David Coulthard at any time.
Well, Jordan and McLaren activity in the pit lane.
Well, you got Ralph. Who's that behind there?
One of the arrows?
One of the arrows looked like he was going to have a there, but I think it was Mika getting by him.
That's Takagi. All right, first and second place are in the pits. Frentzen and Coulthard coming in the pit lane.
You can see that water. Here we go. You've just got to keep off those white lines next to the corner. Water does not permeate white lines.
No.
Now, they got the right tires for these guys. No mistakes here. Now, who can get out first? That's what matters. Come on, let's see who's got the best pit stop. Great start by Jordan, but are they behind? Yes, they're just popped out in front of Coulthard. Good stop there.
And now Fisichella's come in as well, the third place car, also coming in at lap 32.
And they go out, I think, just ahead of Mika Häkkinen, who, of course, is 1 lap behind. So 1 whole lap behind.
And Frentzen has stalled out on the circuit. Frentzen.
Something must have really gone wrong there. That leaves David Coulthard in the lead and Mika Häkkinen behind, and Mika 1 lap behind. Oh, Eddie must be going, I don't know what is happening here. Why should that happen? Look at the frustration in his face. Just think how Heinz-Harald feels in the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. 10 wonderful points that could have made such a difference to this World Championship.
And Derek, at the same point on the circuit where Damon Hill's a car would not take throttle.
Absolutely. Damon was on the inside of the corner, and Heinz Harrell was on the outside of the corner.
Well, the old racing adage, to finish first, you must first finish, has really bit Eddie Jordan's team today.
But it's only the third non-finish in 14 races. That's pretty darn impressive. That's as good as anybody out there. Very, very impressive indeed. That leaves David Coulthard 1 whole lap and a few seconds. Here he goes, watching Heinz Harrell just slow right down. Suddenly something did not work. Makes you, it doesn't look like it was a gear selection to me. It looks like it just totally stopped. Oh dear, he goes, I don't believe it.
Now, as we mentioned, Fisichella had made a pit stop during all this. He went into the pits in third place. And there's Frentzen being towed away. Could this also be a throttle problem?
He comes out in second, let me tell you, does Fisichella. Look at him, he's trying to see what the problem is. It looks like something's jammed up. Looks like the wheels are turning in the opposite direction.
Yep. So Ralf Schumacher has taken over second with the pit stop from Fisichella. So it's Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher, and Fisichella, we're told. Boy, things change quickly here at the Nürburgring. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Nürburgring, where it's now raining all the way around the circuit, and a lot of pit stops are being made. Some for new dry tires and some for wets. October 17th, Sunday, Grand Prix of Malaysia, the penultimate round of the World Championship. We will be there, and check your local listing for air times. Sunday, October 17th on Fox Sports Net.
David Coulthard staying out.
Well, he is leading because Heinz-Harald Frentzen has apparently suffered the same fate as Jean Alesi pulls off.
Oh, got his wet tires on too. He must have just gone in and got those. And David Coulthard's hanging out there in these wet conditions.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen may have suffered the same fate as Damon Hill, coming out of the pits at just about the same spot. Frentzen's Jordan loses power and coasts off the racetrack.
It did look so similar to Damon's problem, one has to admit. I mean, the same corner, same thing. There's no reason it should happen in the same corner, of course. But look at Coulthard. What a great job he's doing in these conditions as Takagi loses it. As he comes through the Vidal chicane. Very easily done in these conditions.
Yep, a couple laps ago, Mika Salo spun, but he was also able to continue.
Coulthard actually pulled away 3 seconds on Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello back in fourth place and Fisichella. Sorry, Barrichello in third place and Fisichella in fourth.
Ralf Schumacher, though, has just had the most tremendously entertaining drive. He has been sliding that car all around the circuit.
I can't believe how Coulthard is doing such a magnificent job in these wet conditions on dry tires.
Lead of 9.1 seconds the last time by.
But obviously they will be giving him the lap times of everybody around him, and he'll be getting all that information into his head all the way around the circuit. And as soon as he can see himself dropping back, or the guys behind going for wets, he will. And the people behind him are hanging in there saying, well, if he's going to stay out, I'll stay out. And we get this scenario, as you can imagine, in sports car racing when the conditions change so much in a 6-hour race.
And you see now all around the circuit rooster tails of water being kicked up.
You have to be so gentle with your braking. You cannot brake too fiercely because you're going to lock a wheel up. Ralf Schumacher coming down there 9 seconds or so behind David Coulthard. I'm surprised he's not going quite as viciously as he was before. Is that Villeneuve? No, that's Zonta. Yeah, that's Ricardo Zonta.
Oh,
Coulthard's off. That is what he should have done. He should have come in the pits and he should have changed those tires. I'm sorry about that.
Good grief. Nobody wants to win this
That
race.
leaves Ralf Schumacher in the lead. Now, a good time for Ralf to go in and put those wets on, I would say. And Rubens Barrichello, 20-odd seconds behind. He's still on dries. He's gone in to put some wets on. David, that is a sad situation, but that's reality. Look at him. He gets out wide. No way is he going to stop. Tries to steer it around, but in he goes. Ooh, doesn't quite make it. No, you can't. Oh, dear. Actually, he almost could have kept... Look at that. Oh, my goodness. He just stops. You'd have thought he could have got out of there. Norbert Haug not at all happy. There isn't going to be a Mercedes victory today unless, of course, Hakkinen, who's in 11th place, can do something pretty outstanding.
Well, now never say never, Derek, because
never.
Everybody that's had the lead has managed to throw it away due to either mechanical problems or lack of grip.
Now, I did say before this race, I put my money on Ralf Schumacher.
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry about that.
I'll have to back you there.
I must admit, it is home Grand Prix, if that's the right word. To see that young man go well. Fisichella, of course, doing a superb job in second place. Now, of course, Barry Keller went in for some wet tyres.
Well, after the very wet French Grand Prix, which Frentzen won, there was some sentiment for Bernie putting sprinklers around at various corners on all the Grand Prix circuits, because the race was...
What in surprises you? And just stick them out there when you need them.
Oh, why not?
Yeah, let's spray some water here. That's Mika Hakkinen, of course, the one remaining McLaren in the race, who's way down there in 11th place, 1 minute 44 behind. Fisichella is the only Benetton in the race, having had Bertz got involved in that first corner shambles there when Pedro Diniz ended up flicking over upside down and being carted away to hospital with a little bit of, I would say, a little bit of neck soreness to him somehow, but he's conscious and stable.
And Rubens Barrichello has climbed the ladder now up to 4th position.
He's done very well when you consider where he started on the grid in 12th at the beginning of the race. Superb. No, so that was warm-up. I'm sorry. He was even further. He was in 15th. I thought he was further down. He was 15th in qualifying.
And who's coming right along up the ladder with him but teammate Johnny Herbert. Herbert is up in the points.
Ralf Schumacher still out there on those dry tyres. Of course, it does appear to have stopped raining on certain areas of the track. Look how wet it is. This is where you have to be careful under very high-speed braking. Woohoo! Slurt right down, Ralph. You've got to have so much sensitivity in the wet to keep that car on the road, and this is where his brother Michael was such a star, or is such a star, except he's not here today.
Now, Ralph, last time passed, had a 19-second lead on Fisichella. And Johnny Herbert now posted 3rd.
Did a very quick lap. He was come several seconds quicker, 5 seconds a lap quicker on the wets. But of course, you've got to consider the fact that it may well dry out, in which case Herbert will have to go in and change tyres back to dries again.
Barrichello now shown 4th, with some 14 seconds behind Herbert.
And Schumacher doing the same times as Fisichella as we speak.
Jarno Trulli now 5th, and Jacques Villeneuve 6th. Eddie Irvine, despite a horrible day in the pits for Ferrari, is now up to 7th. And oh my heart, Marc Genet and Luca Badoer are 8th and 9th. Minardi has climbed to the top 10 with both cars. You could have got long odds on that at the top of the day. But good for that. Good. I mean, good for that.
It's great for Minardi. They said we're off the back row of the grid because we pushed arrows to the back. Great for Minardi. Because there's still the talk of this Telefonica buying out the team, or sponsoring the team to a major degree by buying it out. But they're somehow withholding their rights to buy it at the moment.
Well, let's have a look at how this very strange day has affected the Driver Championship. That's how the points were coming into this race. And right now, of the top 6, only 3 of them are still in the race. Ralf Schumacher leading, Irvine back in 8th, and Hakkinen back in 11th. So of the first 6 drivers in the World Championship, only Ralf Schumacher is in a position to score any points today.
Quite amazing. Who'd have believed that? I said at the beginning, not a race. It hasn't normally a race of attrition, but it certainly is at the moment, and it's teeming down with rain again. Now, of course, we've got the situation where we're going to have to look, are we going to go in Ralf Schumacher and change those tyres, or aren't we?
I think the best analogy to be made for folks at home is winter driving. You're driving on dry pavement, suddenly you're driving on slippery or icy pavement. When you get back to the dry pavement, how hard do you push? When you get to a patch of road that looks wet, is it wet or is it ice, and how fast can you go? Take your speeds, multiply them times a factor of 4, add the risk factor in, and you have a rough idea of what these drivers are facing right now, because the conditions are, in the wet portions of the track, extremely treacherous.
Well, Ralf, of course, has not been in for those wet tyres. He's losing like 2 seconds a lap, or to 3 seconds a lap, to the two Fords. Ferrari getting, I think, ready for Eddie Irvine.
Irvine in 7th place. He is 5 seconds out of 6th. That's where Jacques Villeneuve.
And of course, let's not forget, he is also on the dry tyres. He hasn't been in for the wet yet, so here he comes. Probably a wise move with not too many laps to go. We've only got 23, was it 23 laps to go?
And this
They've
time
got the right tyres this time.
Yes, they're ready for him.
Eddie could have been in very strong contention if Ferrari hadn't made that 30-second pit stop for him. These are the wet tyres. That's a good stop. Don't let him go, man. Don't let him hold him any longer. Good. Let's see what Eddie can do. He was in 7th position.
And that should move Marc Genet up into 7th position. He may come out in front of Luca Badoer. No, perhaps not. Perhaps as far back as 9th.
Keller.
So Irvine may have rejoined the race in 9th place. So Ralf Schumacher leads at the Nürburgring, some 17 seconds ahead of Fisichella, Johnny Herbert, Jarno Trulli, Rubens Barrichello, and Jacques Villeneuve. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Fox Sports Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Europe, where now Ralf Schumacher leads Giancarlo Fisichella by 24 seconds. Fisichella battling with Johnny Herbert for that 2nd position. Jarno Trulli 4th, Rubens Barrichello 5th, Jacques Villeneuve 6th.
And here a shot just a few seconds ago of Giancarlo Fisichella coming into the chicane. Whoops! Overcooks it as he goes in, across the curb. And he does an amazing job, and amazingly fortunate that there's a big runoff area there. He somehow keeps those wheels facing in the right direction. He's going to get really dirty, gets it back on the road, but he gets right in the clutches of Johnny Herbert, who of course is on wet tyres, right behind him. Herbert doing a magnificent job. Truly, of course, popping up into 4th ahead of Barrichello. And Jacques Villeneuve doing a super job there in 6th place.
And here's the leader in the pit.
Here's Ralph going in the pits now. Is he going to put wets on at this point? The sun is all over the place, all over the track.
Well, he's certainly been the best today at finding the edge in these extremely variable conditions.
And he's been lapping the same laps as everybody else. There isn't a great advantage of him changing to wets. No, he's going back onto slicks yet again. Well, wise choice, Ralph. He's doing a super job here. One mustn't forget, of course, that Ralph lives in this area. He knows the Nürburgring. If anybody knows what to look for, where to look for the weather, it's him. And a lot of us guys that have raced there over the years, you know where to look for this lousy weather.
Well, he had a 24-second lead when he came in.
He's coming out just behind Johnny Herbert. Or ahead of Johnny Herbert? No, behind Johnny Herbert.
So he's back out in 3rd. Giancarlo Fisichella, despite a spin off the track, is the leader. Johnny Herbert, the white car, the Stewart Ford, in 2nd. And now Ralf Schumacher in 3rd. Jarno Trulli, Barrichello, Villeneuve. And then the minority, Luca Badoer, in 7th. Eddie Irvine has just passed Marc Genet for 8th. Zonta in 9th, and Mika Hakkinen is 10th.
Ralph really getting to it. You saw Herbert, of course, driving to keep his car, his Ford, in the wet line, on the wet line, to keep those wet tyres cool. He doesn't want to burn off that rubber by keeping it too dry. But look at the grip that Ford has in the wet. My goodness me, it has some grip on those wet tyres. You can be so much braver. A wonderful race for Johnny Herbert.
He was asked recently in a magazine article, what do people most misunderstand about you? And he goes, that I'm retiring. He says, I'm not. They've had
look! There's
the arrows.
Takagi. Oh, Takagi's gone again. I do get criticized for being critical of him, but he does make some pretty crude errors, I have to admit. Look at that wheel. That could be dangerous if it runs down that curb out on the road.
And he was right in the midst of that lead battle, being overlapped.
Yeah.
And
arrows don't need that. They're in such deep trouble. Look at the rail running downhill. They're in such deep trouble with financially, and they just seem to have lost their way totally.
Now, Prince Malik has left the management structure of the team. He still retains a 10% ownership.
Well, they thought he was going to bring the sponsorship to the team, and he just hasn't brought the money he thought he would. Here we go. Takagi coming around the corner, loses it. Didn't quite pick up whether he got in the white line or not on the outside, and off he goes. Dear, that's just what Arrows did not need. Tom Walkinshaw just is absolutely dumbfounded as to why he cannot make Formula One work. Everything else he's touched in motor racing has turned to gold. Sports car, touring car, whatever it was, he made it work. That was the shot, of course, from the car of Ralf Schumacher.
And Takagi saunters away. You see the wheel has come to rest against the tire wall, safely out of harm's way.
I don't think anybody's going to want him to drive an Indy car either, quite frankly, do you?
No.
Unless he brings a lot of money.
Not anybody who's watched these telecasts, but
I think people must realize that a lot of these drivers bring a bundle of money with them, and that's what gets them where they are. Ralph coming up over the back of Johnny Herbert there, he just wants to drive it a road and he'll go by.
And you see there's dry road, but it's scarcely a car wide.
No, and there we go. You don't want to get on that white line. Because the water does not permeate white lines, and you have to keep your car off it. Oh, that looked like a Ferrari going very slow.
No, it was De La Rosa. It was the second arrows.
Oh, sorry.
The remaining
colors. Look, here he goes down the inside, Ralph. Go, Ralph. Look at that. I mean, what bravery. Oh, no, it didn't work anyway.
Go, Johnny,
Johnny's
go.
having a vote. I mean, Ralph is on dry tires, and I'm sure Johnny's on wet. And Ralph has to outbrake him on a wet line here.
Yes.
Is he going to get him? He's got to get him.
Yeah, Herbert has the clean braking line.
Yep.
And has the spot.
Yep.
So a great battle. Oh, trouble for Mika Salo.
They're wheeling it back in the pit.
Well, they were laid out for him for a pit stop.
Yeah.
So
maybe that was him coming up the hill just now.
strange indeed.
Ralph gets it goes a bit wide there in the damp. Super aerial shot. Fisichella. Problem is, to overtake, you have to take the wet line to overtake, and that is very precarious.
8-second lead for Fisichella, but he's in heavy traffic. The Fisichella working traffic is the leader.
Right behind Ricardo Zonta.
Johnny Herbert in second. Ralf Schumacher third. Jarno Trulli fourth. Barrichello fifth as Herbert comes to the pit lane, and Luca Badoer poised to score a point for Minardi.
It would be absolutely magnificent if Minardi was to get a World Championship point. It would be absolutely superb. There's Ralph now on his own as Johnny Herbert goes in the pits. Now let's see if Ralph can catch up the 8 seconds on Fisichella. We don't know, of course, that Fisichella hasn't got to stop again. I wouldn't think so with just a few laps to go.
Dry tires for Herbert. Testing for grip there as he comes back out on the circuit.
Yes, it's a really weird feeling as you come out on fresh tires. Right behind is Mika Hakkinen. Of course, it's totally out of contention. 1 minute 36 behind the leader. So, in fact, Johnny Herbert is a lap ahead of him at this point.
Hard to believe that Mika Hakkinen could go a lap down, fall completely out of contention, and yet, Derek, it doesn't look as if he'll lose the point lead.
Well, he won't, because nobody could overtake him with the points available. But
only Irvine, should he score to 6th place and take the 1 point.
Yeah, that's all could happen. But Irvine is in 7th at the moment, and surely Eddie Irvine can catch Luca Badoer.
But Heinz-Harald Frentzen crashed out of the race. David Coulthard slid off the track and out of the race.
Yeah, that was very, very unfortunate for David. Very bad judgment. He should have come in, although he was being, I thought had his thumb right on the controls of what was happening, but obviously he didn't, and that was it. Very bad judgment.
And Frentzen with either a mechanical or electrical problem, perhaps loss of throttle, as happened to Damon Hill on the first lap of the race.
Well, wouldn't Michael Schumacher have reveled in this lot? Fisichella zapping by Eddie Irvine. No, yes he is. No, he isn't. Yes he is. That's good of Eddie to let him ease through. Eddie a lap behind. Pretty bad stuff. Eddie a lap behind. Jarno Trulli came in the pits in 4th place.
And that'll be his final stop.
How galling for Eddie Irvine to let Fisichella go through.
Well, of course, Eddie's got to run his own race, and right now he's got to catch up Luca Badoer.
This is the overtaking maneuver of Fisichella on Eddie just now.
Well, Eddie left him a day and a half.
And then he goes off the road. Fisichella pulls off well in the lead. I can't believe it. You realise that puts Ralf Schumacher in the lead of the European Grand Prix. What has gone wrong today? Everybody's just pulling off. Can't believe it. I bet he can't either. That's very, very sad for the team. Here he goes, coming into the chicane. The Vidal chicane, gets it sideways. He probably stalled it. I think he stalled it.
Isn't that where he spun before?
Yeah, he spun it there before. He's got all the wheels locked up and he's stalled the engine and he's lost the European Grand Prix. And my goodness, how Benetton needed that victory today. Oh my goodness, the mechanics are so distraught.
And there's Fisichella.
Such a letdown.
He is the third driver to slide off the track, out of the lead and out of the race.
What need you say as they lift his car up in front of his face, and the poor guy must be rushing through his head when he knows there's the young Mr. Benetton, Rocco Benetton there. He must be terribly upset because he really needed that victory today, my goodness. And Ralf Schumacher, listen to that crowd cheering on Ralf Schumacher.
Well, here's who's left. Ralf Schumacher is your new leader. He leads, and he's lost a tire. He's lost the right rear.
Oh my goodness me, I don't believe it as he goes off the road. They were setting up for him to come in. He's got to keep it going to get back to pits, but I believe he's right down the bottom end. He's not going to be able to get it back because he's going to lose some bodywork.
Unbelievable.
I don't believe it. He's right down the wrong area for that. Oh, Ralph, I don't believe it. I wonder what his brother Michael's thinking right now.
That if it wasn't for bad luck.
He had a 27-second lead over Jarno Trulli.
And Johnny Herbert has now passed Jarno Trulli.
My goodness
and here
me.
he comes.
Here they come. He's got this little bit uphill. He's got quite a ways to go yet. And there goes Johnny Herbert to take the lead of the European Grand Prix. Amazing.
So Herbert's the leader. Trulli is not that far behind him. There's Jarno Trulli in the cross. Barrichello has now come to fourth. Luca Badoer is fifth. And Eddie Irvine sixth.
Oh, the Schurks are wondering, what are we going to do here? We got two cars suddenly looking good. In fact, Barrichello is in third place because Schumacher actually is obviously out of the first four positions.
Now, Eddie Irvine had climbed to seventh, and he pits. Change of tires.
So, he won't necessarily be in sixth, of course, because Ralph was a lap ahead of him.
Right, so yeah,
Ralph can get back, which he should be coming into the pits right now and get that other wheel on.
But Irvine...
Here's his tire going, look. Hey, astonishing. How could that happen in these conditions? That was very bad. Damon apparently had a tire go during practice on Friday at 150 miles an hour, and he had a nasty crash. It looks like a similar thing happened here. I mean, there's no real reason to lose that. You'd never think you'd lose a dry tire in wet conditions.
No.
Here he is. He's made it back. Doesn't look like he's ripped the rear wing off. Just depends how much time he's lost. He must have lost half a lap.
And maybe some under tray damage, but the car looks remarkably intact for what it's been through.
Yeah, I'm staggered the way the tires stayed on the rim, or sort of around the rim.
Well, thank goodness it did. You know, Ralph could still finish this race in the points. Astonishing as that may be.
He hasn't damaged the bodywork.
That's
astonishing.
amazing.
I mean, usually you damage the bodywork, so he cannot believe it. Shaking his head from side to side.
It's not over yet. He comes into the pits in fourth place behind Herbert, Trulli, and Barrichello. But everything that
clear bit of road. Let's just hope he didn't get any damage there and he can keep himself in that position.
So Johnny Herbert for Stewart is the leader. Jarno Trulli, Rubens Barrichello. Talk about long odds at the top of the day.
Unless Ricardo's onto behind him. Whoops, trying to straighten the car out. He comes out of there.
Trying to make sure everything's still attached.
Yes, that's the main thing. Find out that nothing's loose at the back. You didn't damage the horrible feeling. Look at this group. My goodness me. Herbert with Mika Häkkinen right behind Mika. Obviously trying to unlap himself, I would have thought. Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Oh, but the way everything that's happened, who's to say that Häkkinen still couldn't win this race? Stranger things have happened already today. Who will win the Grand Prix of Europe? Will anybody? Stay with us. Welcome back to Fox Sports Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Europe. Mike Joy with Derek Bell and Peter Windsor, and there are going to be some new faces on the podium today. Heinz-Harald Frentzen led from the start. 4 laps led by Johnny Herbert. 5 lead changes. And Frentzen, David Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher and Giancarlo Fisichella each went off while leading, and all but Ralf are out of the race. He cut down a right rear tire and was able to continue. Mika Hakkinen lost a lap with tire change problems. Eddie Irvine fell way back when Ferrari was not ready for the dry tires he wanted instead of the wets that they had brought out. And here is one of the Minardi's. Badoer in 4th place is coasting to a stop.
Unbelievable. What a race. I've never seen so many dramas. So sad for Minardi and, of course, for Badoer. Didn't they need to get a 4th place? Would have been magnificent for them to get a 4th place. It would have been the first point since 1995 when Pedro Lamy got 6th place in Australia. Absolutely superb luck, or bad luck should I say, but I mean superb race for them right up to that point. They were going so well. Such a pity that it all turned like that.
Well, it will move Marc Genet up to 6th place. Now,
and puts Eddie Irvine in the points too.
Well, Eddie Irvine's 7th. He's 12 seconds back of Genet. So Luca Badoer, there were 3 points at the taking for Badoer, and he's out of the race. And just
he's taken a long time over his 5-second steering wheel job, but I think you could say that's down to emotion. Poor guy.
Of all the heartbreaks today, well, perhaps that's the worst.
There's the engine going. Next year they may well be running Renault Supertech engines, and they can get this sponsorship package together. I really would love them to, because the car obviously isn't that bad. It's just that the guys are running these antique engines on a very limited budget. Ralf Schumacher is going extremely well. He's pulling actually 2 seconds a lap in on the guys in front of him. Ralf is now in 4th place, of course.
But a long way to go to catch Barrichello. So here are your leaders. Johnny Herbert looking for his 3rd Grand Prix victory. Jarno Trulli, Rubens Barrichello. That's how the podium looks right now with 10 laps to go, but anything can happen, and already has today. Ralf Schumacher, Jacques Villeneuve, and Marc Genet still may have a chance to put up a point for Minardi.
I think they probably told him to cut back on the revs, but out there, Mark, and just bring that car home for us. We just want to get in there and get a World Championship point. It makes such a difference to their travel expenses and the amount of money they get from the Formula One constructors.
10 laps to go. Coulthard crashed out of the race leading. Alex Zanardi off the course. Damon Hill, throttle problems on the 1st lap, which triggered a big crash. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, apparent throttle problems while leading, out of the race. Both Benettons, Wirtz and Fisichella, off. Both Saubers, Alesi and Denitz, out of the race. Takagi into the barrier with predictable results. Luca Badoer has just lost an engine. Those are the retirees thus far.
The main contenders for the World Championship, Irvine and Hakkinen, are at this point only 2 seconds apart on the road. Hakkinen being 2 seconds behind Eddie Irvine, lying in 7th and 8th place.
And they are closing down on Genet. It was 12 seconds last lap. It's 10 seconds now from Irvine to Genet.
Seeing Jackie Stewart in there reminds me that in 1968, Jackie Stewart won the European Grand Prix on the Nürburgring by 4 minutes. He had a 4-minute lead at the end. Absolutely astounding. Now, who said it maybe wasn't boring then?
Well, of course, now that was on the old course, correct?
Of course, yeah.
So it would not have been a lap. I mean, certainly not a lap. That was a 13-mile course.
It was 8 minutes a lap. 14-mile course. I have to admit, even my own little way, I was in Formula 2 there, and I was 4 minutes in the lead until I came down into the last corner, down the dip, and as I came up, I backed off the engine and it just blew up when I backed off. 400 yards from the finish line. Never ever won on the old Nürburgring. Come to this place and I win it the first time out in the Porsche. Not what I wanted to win on this clinical sort of modern circuit. Everybody wanted to win on that dangerous, phenomenal old circuit. The Nordschleife.
Watching Mika Hakkinen, who is now in 8th place, Irvine in 7th. They would score no points. And of the top half dozen, only Ralf Schumacher would score. And that'd be worth 3 points, which is inconsequential.
Here's Irvine and Hakkinen really going for it. Look, Eddie Irvine, 2 contenders for the World Championship. And there, of course, we have De La Rosa walking back. He was in 10th place.
Well, that puts both arrows out of the race, and almost contact there between Irvine and Hakkinen went to the grass.
Well, Irvine doesn't want to let him by, although they're not in the points at the same time. There's a certain amount of Macoism about this, because Eddie would like to finish ahead of the guy he says he's better than. Plus, of course, should there be a problem, here we go again as Mika looks down the inside. Eddie's not doing a very good job of holding him out from going around the outside and getting a better line, and they go in side by side. Whoops. No, he doesn't. Mika doesn't want to touch him. Not a good place to do it because you cannot see your way through that chicane as you come up to it.
Derek, I think it will make a difference. I think one of these two drivers will leave here with the championship lead because they have enough time to get past Marc Genet, and then 1 point hangs in the balance.
Well, yes, you're absolutely. I was thinking more in terms of perhaps somebody else falling out in front, and they couldn't afford to patter their way home. They had to go all the way, because if there was another fallout in front of them, there would be a World Championship point at stake. But I have a distinct feeling that Mika could well get Eddie at this.
Well, it is going to make a difference as we come down some 8 laps from the finish.
Well, they're still lapping 2 seconds a lap slower than Barry Keller. Oh my goodness, there's Zonta's off the road. Ricardo Zonta, who is back in 9th place, he's off the road, straightens it up and goes back on again.
Well, he may fall into the clutches of Penny then, who's running in 10th. Well, still, this battle remains a hot one between the two drivers who lead the World Championship, and if a pass occurs or doesn't, that will determine who the points leader is going into these final 2 events. Not in a points position right now, 7th and 8th, but likely will be at race end.
It just doesn't look the speed there. They're doing 180 miles an hour as they come down. They look like they're doing about 50. It's just unfair, some of these camera angles. Here's Mika looking down the inside, but remember, they have almost identical power, these two cars, in the 800s, 810, 820 horsepower. And we all know just what a wonderful car that McLaren is, and really is slightly superior to the Ferrari.
Well, this puts Mika back on his game. He's in the hunt. He's chasing Eddie Irvine, and points hang in the balance. So, 59 laps. Johnny Herbert, Jarno Trulli, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, Jacques Villeneuve, and Marc Genet are in the points-paying positions right now. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Europe. 4 laps to go. You're watching the second place battle. Jarno Trulli's Prost trying to hold back Rubens Barrichello. This has been a tight fight for second place.
And this would, if Rubens was to get by, it'd have Ford's first and second on the podium. Quite unbelievable. Jacques Villeneuve in 5th place was Jacques. Jacques was in 5th place. Oh my goodness.
Kaboom.
Kaboom. They didn't need that today either. So of course that immediately moves Irvine up into a point. Hakkinen without a point. So that means that this is exactly what I said just now. That's what Irvine was working at. And Hakkinen, of course, is right behind it. So the point, they're actually fighting for the championship lead, although they're in 6th and 7th place. You can't believe it. And that boy could that point be important.
And Marc Genet, unbelievable, moves up to 5th.
Yeah, he's right there, and I mean, just astonishing. And they're still 8 seconds behind. Irvine is 8 seconds behind Marc Genet. Oh, look, and Hakkinen goes by Irvine. Hakkinen gets by Eddie Irvine. Eddie overdoes it at the Vidal chicane, and that is it. He can't take the pressure from that McLaren man, and that turns the tables, and it means that Hakkinen may well get a point out of all this.
And Hakkinen will lead the World Championship, leaving here unless Irvine can get back past him. What a great moral victory it would have been for Ferrari to leave here with Irvine in the championship lead. It appears not to be. And there's Jackie Stewart, who may have 2 drivers on the podium in the strangest of days.
Side by side as they come into the Vidal chicane. 3 laps to go. Here we go again. Here's the move, but Eddie locks his brakes up, decides, no way am I going to get. Inside wheel is still locked up, takes the grass, but of course Mika has it on the asphalt, and that is it. Eddie should have done what DC did, gone straight down the fast bit, the old part of the circuit. Look at the smoke off that tyre. He wouldn't have done that tyre any good either. Eddie would be quite pleased that he doesn't got to put any pressure on anybody for the last few laps. As he looks in his mirror to watch Hakkinen go by and goes, I just blew it. So at Haag on Mercedes, thinking, my goodness, how do we get back from such a lowly place on the grid as there's Paul Stewart chewing his nails incessantly there. Wouldn't think he was nervous, would you?
And imagine Mika Hakkinen, who once trailed the race leader by a minute and a half, by a lap and some 10 seconds, now finds himself up in 6th place and a championship point. Here's Ralf Schumacher charging hard, but 22 seconds back of 3rd place Barrichello.
Johnny Herbert, this is unbelievable. Who would have believed that Johnny this year would have got a win?
Stewart, Prost, Stewart, then Williams, Minardi, and McLaren, the top 6.
Oh, look at Barrichello. He got some speed that time through that corner. Has he got in this time? No, because Trulli goes right down the inside, but Barrichello carried some speed out of the fast kink down out of the bit curve, as it's called, and wasn't enough though to get by. He had a wheel in front of him, but of course Trulli was on the inside with 2 laps to go. What a group! I'm staggered that we can't get this forward pie here. Of course, you can see here that we had that the Barrichello is actually framed with a Peugeot car either side of him, coming down into there, with Panis behind him.
Yeah, Pani a lap down in 9th place.
Pani just a spectator behind these two. You're going to have to take a very bold movement in a minute there, Rubens.
And you're running out of time to do it.
Right tight coming out of there, carries the speed up the hill. Is he going to get down the inside? Very difficult because there's a fast kink here. He just can't get there. He might, if he's got to get a shot as he comes up under braking. Ooh, Mika Hakkinen. Yes, he's just got by Mark Genet, Mika Hakkinen has.
So that's 2 points up on Eddie.
Yes, 2 points up on Eddie. Now, Rubens just doesn't seem to get close enough to him getting onto this fast part of the straight. So he hasn't got momentum going up into the braking area for the Beadle chicane.
And where was Eddie? Is Irvine's car slowed with that off-course excursion? If he can't get past Genet, he's going to fall 2 points back of Hakkinen. Would be nice to see Minardi with a point, but that's going to be between Genet and Irvine in this final lap. Still watching the 2nd place battle, Jarno Trulli and Rubens Barrichello, as Johnny Herbert is out to a 24-second lead.
You just can't imagine the desperation going on in the cockpit of those 2 cars right now. 2 young men absolutely battling out, an Italian and a Brazilian battling out. Remember, of course, Rubens Barrichello is going to go to Ferrari next year.
And Trulli to Jordan.
He may go to Jordan for the next race, of course. If Damon Hill quits after this one, Trulli will go to Jordan. Nick Heidfeld, who's been testing for this team, for the Prost team, may well go to Prost already to finish the season.
He's got to look and he's got to run, but
he just can't do it because you've already got this fast left-hander coming up and there's nothing you can do through there. And then he seems to lose it. He needs to be that much closer to outbrake him up into the Vidal chicane. Johnny Herbert, meanwhile, just cruises on merrily on his final lap. Unbelievable day for Johnny Herbert.
People had written Herbert off, but here he comes to score his 3rd Formula One victory and his first since Italy in 1995. For 2nd place, Trulli and Barrichello.
Come on, Rubens. Jackie, can you imagine 2 Fords, 1st and 2nd on the podium, but I don't think it's going to be so. Well, unless he can get a run out of this turn, and I don't think he can, no.
Nope, it'll be 1st and 3rd for Stuart Ford as Jarno Trulli puts up 6 points for Prost with a 2nd place finish.
Very, very excited. Yeah.
Here's Ralf Schumacher for 4th. 40 seconds off the lead.
And ifs and buts, but he could have won that by a long way.
Yes. And Ralph finishes 4th. Mika Hakkinen is in 5th. And Genet, is he able to hold off Eddie Irvine for the final point? That's the question. Here comes Hakkinen. Behind him are Genet and Irvine. Coming through this final complex of corners, Mika Hakkinen will get 2 points and retake the championship lead. A point for Minardi. And we'll go to the podium when we come back. Johnny Herbert wins. Welcome back to what may go in the books as the strangest Formula One race witnessed. Here are the results. Johnny Herbert wins for Stuart Ford. Jarno Trulli for Prost. Rubens Barrichello for Stewart. That's the podium. Ralf Schumacher for Williams. Mika Hakkinen comes from a lap and a half down to score 2 points. And Mark Genet gets Minardi's first point since 1995. Eddie Irvine could not hang with Hakkinen to get past Mark Genet, so does not score. Ricardo Zonta, Olivier Panis, and Jacques Villeneuve classed as a finisher. That's the first time all year that VAR has classified both cars. So Hakkinen has a 2-point lead in the Drivers' Championship. Irvine, Frentzen, Coulthard all score no points. Ralf Schumacher passes brother Michael.
And in the Constructors, we have a McLaren Mercedes move ahead by just simply 2 points. Ahead of Ferrari, the 102, Jordan, Winfield, Stewart, Ford and Benetton Playlight.
So let's go to the podium, where Johnny Herbert has his first win since 1995.
Absolutely fantastic. Oh, that is really wonderful to see Johnny Herbert up there.
We saw a tearful Paul Stewart there, who's done so much to help guide this team. And Jackie Stewart up on the podium with his 2 drivers. Been a while since Jackie's been up there on that podium.
Well, it's 1973, the last time he won a Grand Prix.
Goodness.
Can you believe that?
Well, what a great moment for Stewart, and what a totally unexpected moment the way we started the day.
Yeah, who would have believed it would have worked out this way? But look at those happy Ford team. Remember, of course, that they had to run the Series Ford engine here. They didn't run their very latest engine in the race.
No one would have been surprised had Hakkinen or Coulthard or Eddie Irvine won this race. Even if Heinz-Harald Frentzen or Ralf Schumacher had won, it would not have been a huge surprise. But this certainly is.
Absolutely.
4 different drivers, Derek, led this race and fell off the track or out of the lead.
Absolutely, and look out, Jackie Stewart's about to get very wet, and he doesn't mind at all. Yeah,
And they're all after him.
and he deserves it. As you say, the last time he's on a winner's podium was when he won his last Grand Prix in 1973. What a great moment for him when you consider, of course, that the team is now owned by Ford and is going to be labelled a Jaguar next year. I can't imagine seeing a green car go around with Jaguar, nonetheless.
There's a jubilant John Young Stewart, and we'll be back to hear from the podium finishers in just a moment. Let's hear from the podium finishers at the press conference.
Welcome to the top 3 drivers of a truly remarkable Grand Prix of Europe. Johnny Herbert, Jarno Trulli and Rubens Barrichello. Johnny, this is your first win since Monza in '95, the first ever win for Stuart Ford, and really does end a tail run of bad luck. You must have been paid back today.
Yeah, definitely so. I think especially when I went into the lead, unfortunately for Ralph with his puncture or whatever problem he had with the wheel, I had a nice advantage of Jarno, so it was then able to try and look after everything as much as I possibly could, and hopefully, I could get to the end. I was confident it would, but obviously I tried everything to make sure.
Now, when you did stop the first time, you took on some wets. How marginal a decision was that at that point?
Pretty marginal. It was a bit of guesswork because it just rained on the lap I was actually coming in. But the way I looked at it, the cloud was dead in front of me and everything had been coming that way. And I just guessed and hoped that they would just come straight over the track. And it did.
Now, you started 14th on the grid. I mean, how did you feel as you saw everyone fall off in front of you?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of that going on, but that was a lot of people, I think, still on the groove, and obviously the conditions were very tricky, but that was where I was fortunate I had the wets on. I don't know if I was the only one, but I just thought it was worth a risk where we were, and obviously it paid off big time.
Thanks, Johnny. Jarno, your first ever trip to the podium, and obviously therefore your best ever result, and a 3-stop strategy. Talk us through that.
Well, we were on 2-stop strategy, and I must say that yeah, for the first time during this year I was lucky. I mean, I had a good chance in this race. I got it. I made a bad start because I had a problem on the clutch on the first lap. I called the team, but they say, okay, try to do the best. And then on the first lap I was stopped by some cars which crashed on the first corner. So then I carry on. And I think the nice point during this race was when it started to rain and most of the drivers decided to come in, and even my team, called me up to come in, but I decided to stay out and try to drive with dry tires, and this was very important. And then when they called me in for the second time for the fifth stop, was a really good decision, because in fact it was raining and we had a good stop. It was a good strategy in the end. Then yes, we are on 3 stops. Absolutely. It was a bit confused because I was fighting a lot during this race. But anyway, the team has done a very good job. In the end, I was fighting really hard with Rubens, but we were pretty fair, because in the beginning I let him pass on the first lap, and then in the end, when I was fighting for the podium, you know, I really had to do the best, and I did it, and I'm really happy now.
Thanks, Jarno. Rubens, how did you see that really excellent battle you had with Jarno?
It was very fair. It wasn't a problem at all. I was trying on this. It's quite difficult to overtake on this this track, so I was trying. I was giving my best. I think you know, the right. We were lucky today, me and Johnny for sure, because a lot of people dropped out, and you know, Ralph just had a puncture. Now, I really thought I could give this win to Jackie, but I'm happy for Johnny, because he's been having such a bad a year with reliability and so on. So I mean, for the first time for both cars to be on the podium, it's quite remarkable.
Now, you only stopped once. I mean, whose decision was that, and how difficult was it on those groove tyres where it was very wet?
I think, you know, that was the guess. I mean, Johnny guessed it right and I guess it wrong. I mean, the team said, what do you think? We go for slick, so we go for wet. And I said, first I said we go for wet because it was marginal, and but right in front of me was a clear sky, not the sky that Johnny saw it. So I just thought it was going to go away faster than it did, because at the end, with the harder set that I had, it was quite difficult to drive in the wet. So I was losing, I don't know, as much as 5 seconds a lap. So that was the story of the race.
Thanks, Rubens. Johnny, we now move on to Malaysia, where no one's driven before. Do you feel that makes it an even playing field for the Stewart Ford team with the other guys?
Well, I think so. I think especially Rubens has shown how good the car can be. It's great for the team to go there with obviously a 1 and a 3, and it's no one's been there before, so it gives us all an opportunity to work very hard towards trying to finish off with another podium finish in Malaysia. And if we can, that would be fantastic. I don't see why not.
Well, in 3 weeks' time, we'll go to the Grand Prix of Malaysia. First time ever there. Check your local listings. Air times will vary there. We'll be right back. Welcome back to one of the wildest Grand Prix races in the modern era. Derek, it was strange right off the start.
Yes, and driving with Alexander Virtus, he just misses Damon Hill, who had an electronic problem, but poor old Pedro Diniz catapults off the side of him and incurs some injuries.
Every driver that led this race fell out, either sliding off the track or having mechanical problems.
Yes, Hyan Harold's off the road very sadly. I thought he was going to go to a victory, having got pole position, of course.
David Coulthard went off. Ralph Schumacher cut down a tire while leading, and Giancarlo Fisichella spun off the track while leading as well. Johnny Herbert, the winner. Well, in 2 weeks' time, we go to Malaysia. What will happen there? There's still no clear leader for the World Championship. But today, Jackie Stewart celebrates with Johnny Herbert. Drop us a line. Formula1@foxsports.net is our email address, and we'd like to hear from you. For Peter Windsor and Derek Bell, this is Mike Joy congratulating Johnny Herbert, Jackie and Paul Stewart, and Stewart Ford on their victory in the Grand Prix of Europe at the Nürburgring. You've been watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net.